Hi, welcome to Beyond Politics. I'm Catherine Clark. Nova Scotia NDP MP Robert Chisholm was one of 5 kids, the first kid in his family to attend university, which he initially attended on a hockey scholarship. He developed an interest in politics, he ran provincially and became leader of the provincial NDP before taking about a decade off to spend time with his family. But he caught the political bug again and he ran and won in the past federal election. Robert Chisholm joins me now to talk all about life beyond politics. Robert Chisholm, welcome to Beyond Politics. Great to have you here.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Tell me, we were just laughing before the show that you've been in politics a long time. There's not a lot that you haven't been asked, but I guess I'd be interested to know on why you got involved in politics in the first place. How old were you? Was it a question of being, grade 5 class president, or was it a little later than that?
No, far from it. It was not something that I had at the forefront of my mind. I grew up in the Valley, and as it turned out, I mean, university wasn't even something that I thought about.
Really?
Oh no, I'm the youngest of 5.
Okay.
None of my siblings had been to university. I had a couple of sisters that went to nursing school in those days.
And what about your parents? What were they?
My parents, both my mom and dad worked in a general insurance business. They had an agency. My dad did, but both of them had high school, but that was it. I mean, in those days they didn't, or whatever, they were out making a living. But no, I hadn't even thought about university, and it just I went to university actually out of grade 11. Because I got recruited to play hockey. That's really the only reason I went. And in fact, I got injured the first year, so I couldn't play hockey. So
did you
what's the point of staying in university, right? So I did. I left, worked at a few different things, and then eventually went back to university when I was 21.
Isn't that something? So you're obviously a pretty good hockey player.
Wow. In those days, I figured just because I was crazy enough to go hell-bent into the corners, and so every team needed a few people like me. I wasn't that good, I don't think.
Did you keep your elbows out? Or
well, maybe that's what helps me in politics.
True enough, sharp elbows, honed early. When you were presented with the opportunity to go to university, did you know what you were going to study, or was it kind of a defined course load because of hockey?
When I went there to play hockey, it was just an arts degree, and it was the farthest thing from my mind.
Really, it was.
When I went back, when I decided I wanted to go to university, by then I was hooked up with my soon-to-be wife. She was doing a master's in social work, and I was very interested in the world around me and a lot of other things, and she encouraged me, frankly, to try.
You mean to try by going back?
To try to get into university. I didn't have very good marks out of grade 11. So it was funny because I tried to get into Dalhousie, and they wouldn't take me because my marks were so low.
Wow.
But St. Mary's, because they had taken me to play hockey, had to take me. So I went in and did my first year there, and then went to Dal, and eventually over a period of, I took an overload of courses and did it part-time. It took me about 4 years to get my undergraduate degree.
In what?
In sociology.
Okay.
And then I went on after that and did a master's here at Carleton in Ottawa.
In
sociology.
In sociology as well.
Yeah.
Tell me about your family's reaction when you decided that you were going to go back to university. Well, you know what? First, why did you decide to go back to university? Because you tried it once and that was for hockey. But then you left. So why go back at 21?
It's a long time ago. It's hard for me to remember.
It's
hard for me to remember back that far. No, I mean it's just.
It just seemed like the right thing to do.
I'd never taken the opportunity to think about the world around me and to to consider different concepts about what makes society works and why people are the way they are, and power imbalance and all that kind of stuff. So I began to talk about that sort of stuff, and I began to read a lot of books, and then it just seemed like maybe I should go to university, take this seriously, take courses in sociology and political science and history, philosophy, and see what it's like. And I loved it. I mean, it was, the first year I was there, it was just a blast. I worked part-time, was working part-time at that point, but it was, I really felt good being in university, and it was a great decision. I'm glad I did it.
So back to your family, when you decided to go back, and you were still the only kid in a family of 5 who had gone to university, how did your family react? Were they supportive, or did they think you were wasting your time?
No. I think they were very supportive, and would have always said that they encouraged their kids and wanted to see one of their kids go to university, and so we're pleased that I went ahead and did that.
Yeah. At what stage then did you realize that politics was of interest to you? Because we talked about the fact that it was in the grade 5.
It probably wasn't until I was 33 when I was first elected in 1991. And it probably wasn't until less than a year before that when I was really presented with an opportunity. Was at a meeting and was asked, we've got this by-election coming up. It was John Buchanan's seat that was vacated. And we can't find a candidate. What do you think? Right?
That's a flattering way to be asked.
Well, absolutely.
Did you take it in that vein, or were you just?
No. It was funny because it was in the Scotia Square. If you've been in Halifax, and I was in the lobby, having a coffee, reading the Globe at the time, and and it was the 1-year anniversary of the Montreal massacre. There had just been a big announcement at Air Canada or CBC. We're laying off 700 people or whatever. For some reason, I was engaged, in the fact that this was happening, and it got me going. It got me thinking, why, not enough people are speaking out about this, and we got to do something about this, and why isn't something being done? So when someone at this meeting, it was a meeting of New Democrats and some labor activists, turned to me and said, we got this by-election coming up and we're looking for somebody. And I didn't say no. And
did you surprise yourself by not saying no?
As you know, if you don't say no in politics,
they keep coming at you.
You're done.
That's true.
You're done.
Even if you do say no, they keep coming.
That's right. So I went away from that, and for the first time began to think seriously about it. And this would have been, well, of course, December the 6th. So this was early December of 1990.
Who did you talk to about it?
My wife.
And what did she say?
She thought I was kind of crazy. We had a young daughter. She was 3 when I was first elected, so she would have been 2.5 by then. Or no, 2 then, 2. I had a pretty good job. And
what were you doing?
I was working as an education rep with CUPE, the Canadian Union of Public Employees, for Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, Labrador. It was a good job, good opportunity, to work with working people in the region. I enjoyed it very much, but it was, we just kept talking about it and talking about it, and it was clear that I had touched something, and she recognized it, and so we had some conversations with some other people. I decided to go. I mean, it was
people who were friends, or people who had gone through it themselves.
People who were friends. Alexa McDonough, for one. Was very encouraging. She was a leader at the time, of course, and a bit biased about wanting someone to be the candidate. But I think in all, with my best interests at heart as well, thought it would be a good thing for me to do. But nobody ever thought we were going to win. John Buchanan had that seat for 16 years. The Liberal that was in there was a 2-time municipal candidate, well known. So it was.
Did you really?
I was a sacrificial lamb.
Did you feel that way?
But I went at it. I decided I was going to get into politics. I had made a commitment a few years ago to my kids that I was going to make use of my time on this earth, that I was going to do whatever I could, do the best I could to make this a better place. And so it came to me that this was that chance. As I said then, not to put my name. So I had to run for the nomination because I didn't know that riding. I hadn't been that heavily involved, certainly in that riding, in the party. So I had to organize. I had to get out and organize just to win the riding, just to win the nomination for the NDP. And then I had to go and work hard. Not just me, but it was I had a number of people helping me, and we just worked our butts off. And as it turns out, it was a 5.5 month campaign. It was Donnie Cameron was the premier then, and he was in no rush to have a by-election because he was pretty sure he wouldn't win it. Thought he'd lose it to the Liberals, and so he waited for the deadline 6 months after John vacated the seat, and then he called it for the end of August. So 6 months. So the longest period of time he could wait. So we had 5.5 months to organize,
which would have worked in your favor in the end, didn't it?
Sure did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I won that seat by 500 votes.
That's pretty neat. How did you feel on election night, having gone into it as the sacrificial candidate?
Well, I mean, I think that's what. I don't mean to suggest that I felt like I was.
But others were
behind the 8 ball. I felt that like I was going to win. I didn't even think about it too much. It was new to me. I went in and I just knocked on every door, that kind of stuff, and went out and learned how to do it. But it was great. I mean, it was a fun thing. And then, of course, I used to say afterwards, I got elected and took a 20% pay cut, which was a bit of a drag, but such is politics in Nova Scotia. Oh, look, I mean, from what your dad has done, that it's such a privilege to be in this business, to represent people, to have them, put their confidence in you, and I never regretted a moment of the time that I spent in politics. It was time I've been spending in politics.
But it's also tiring and demanding, and it can take you away from your family. How did you manage to negotiate those elements of politics as well?
Well, I mean, let's be clear that I wasn't out on the top of a building pounding nails in the winter.
Okay.
I wasn't, shoveling dirt all day long.
Right. Working in a mine.
I didn't have to do that stuff.
Right.
So, I had it pretty easy, frankly. But there's no question. There's, like all jobs, there's stresses and strains and so on. I was lucky in that I represented a Halifax riding. I lived there. The legislature was there, so when we did sit, I was able to be home every night and that kind of stuff. So, but especially when I became leader, I was going long hours, 7 days a week, and it was tough for my family. There's no doubt about it. It was, my wife ended up leaving her job and staying home. The same year that I became leader to look after our daughter.
It must have been interesting to have started out that way and to have a degree in a different field and to not necessarily have considered a career in politics and then to end up as the leader of a party. That must have really been quite a fascinating experience both for you and for your whole family. How did your family react? Your larger extended family, your brothers and sisters and your parents.
Oh, everybody was pretty proud. I mean, by then, actually, as it turns out, my mom died in 1990.
Oh.
She died before, and she was probably the most political of the family.
Oh, isn't that too bad?
of my parents anyway.
Yeah.
And she died at the age of 66
Isn't that
in
young?
1990, so she didn't get a chance to witness any of it. But my dad actually ran for the provincial Conservatives in, I think it was 46, 47.
Okay.
In a provincial election after he came back from the war.
Right.
And he and I could relate to this because the Tories in that election didn't win one seat.
Okay.
And he remembers some of the areas, Scotts Bay, he used to talk about, where there were so few votes that you knew who voted Tory and who didn't vote Tory, right? So, but anyway, they were all very proud, and I used to laugh. I used to joke about the fact that my dad was supporting me, and he even said he voted NDP. But even after he died, I think at his funeral when I gave the eulogy, I said, I'm still not sure if when he got behind that box whether or not he actually voted for the NDP.
Did he view it as a source of eternal shame that his son ran for another party?
He was
pretty good about it.
He was very proud about it.
I bet.
Because it's all about making a contribution, right? It's all about.
Well, that's what it should be about.
Yeah, and that's what it was to him and to me, and he was from a small town and worked hard in the work he did to make life better in his community and volunteered and that kind of thing, and that's what politics should be and was to him and is to me.
Yeah.
So no, he was. We used to have great conversations because I was
I
involved.
Bet you did.
I was involved in the trade union movement when I was here in Ottawa doing my graduate degree, and I'd come home. We'd go fishing, and the two of us sitting in the boat and.
Did you scare the fish away with your discussions?
Arguing about unions, and then of course arguing about politics. It was lots of fun.
Well, at least it was not dull, right?
No, it's true.
It was not one of those dull dinner conversations that some families have to endure.
Yeah.
When you left as leader, you said you wanted to leave because you wanted to be able to. You didn't know if you could do this to your family for 10 more years. I think is paraphrasing you, but was it just that you wanted to seek different opportunities at that time, or was it becoming too much for the family, or what was the motivation?
In '99, after the election, where we didn't meet, people had certain expectation levels, and we didn't meet those. So we went through a very grueling period over the remainder of the summer and into the fall, where we went out and talked with New Democrats across the province, did election evaluations.
Yeah.
And that was tough. But thought long and hard about it. The period from 1996 when I became leader, and there was actually two of us at that time. I just worked myself crazy. I traveled every inch of the province. I went to any and every meeting. There didn't matter how few people, 2, 3, 4, because I felt that's what I had to do. I gave it everything I had, and then after we had those two quick elections, and then after the '99 went through that period. I mean, I was breathing fumes by then. I was pretty pooped. And it had been so intense, so much pressure, that it was hard for my wife. There's no question about that. My daughter was, I think, 11 at that point, and I thought, okay, now we're looking at 10 years before, because we're now the official opposition. We've been at least 30% in the popular vote for 3 elections. I didn't think there was any chance that we would drop below that we had the opportunity to build, but it would take a full 10 years.
Yeah.
And
of nonstop slogging too.
And kind of more maintenance, more just kind of hanging in, and that doesn't tend to be my style anyway. And so I thought, okay, I'm good. I'll walk away now, sort of refocus on myself and my daughter and my wife, and I can turn things over in pretty good shape. a lot better than they were than when I started. And I had confidence in who I thought was going to be the next leader to be able to build the confidence of Nova Scotians in the party. So that was good. That fall I made the announcement, and my daughter and I started taking riding lessons together.
Nice.
By Christmas, I bought her a kind of a backyard pony horse that she started riding, and then for the next 7 years, I think, we bought her a better horse. She started jumping. We bought a truck and a trailer, and we traveled all over the region for the next 6 years.
Hey, isn't that great?
Together every weekend.
Somewhere
during the summer.
Different.
So when people say, "Do you have any regrets?"
Yeah.
I mean, how could I possibly?
Absolutely.
When I think of those mornings at 5 o'clock, and my daughter and I driving down the road with the horse and trailer in the back, and we're just having a blast.
That's that's wonderful. Yeah. And you started a consulting firm, is that right, with your wife?
Not until 2009.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but with my wife, yeah.
Yeah.
I had been when I left politics, I went back to CUPE.
Okay.
To the union.
Sure.
And
you got your pay raise at that point.
Yes,
hopefully.
that's right. Well, yeah, it was close.
Okay.
It was close because by then as leader, but a little bit better. Yeah.
That's good. Enough to afford the horse. Thank
goodness.
And,
another mortgage on my house, right? Whatever it took. So anyway, I went back there and eventually became regional director, and I was that for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And then just decided that it was kind of. It was representing working people is a big job, and been doing it for a long time. So I figured, okay, why don't we try a little different tact? My wife and I would, do stuff together, and so I did that. I went out and started consulting, and it was great.
At what stage?
I'm afraid, though, it gave me a little too much time to think and to listen to what was going on.
Absolutely,
because I got the bug again. You
got the bug, and you jumped. Did you, was it a deliberate choice? Did you really deliberate over the decision to run federally? Or was it a snap decision?
No, I did. I was approached in the fall of 2010, probably 2009. No, 2010. And so I started thinking about it. And of course, my wife's story is that she always thought that I would get back into politics.
Right.
And she really did kind of want me to get back into politics.
Is that because she'd had enough of having you underfoot at home? Or?
No. I think just because she knew, she knows how passionate I am about it, and she's also passionate about politics.
Right.
Thought it was something that I should do. At that point, the party federally is 36 members. And I just thought, well, I've got another few years left in me. This is something I think I can do well, it's very much. I didn't like the way things were going in this country. I didn't like what the government was doing. I felt that we could do better as a country, and I felt the Atlantic provinces were not benefiting very much from this government. And it comes down to the point where, if not you, who?
Right.
So,
is it different?
And I wanted to help Jack build the party.
Right.
I had that experience, and I thought that might be helpful. So that was kind of what I was thinking about, and then I thought, well, as the election comes by, then I'll seek the nomination.
Has it been a different experience federally than it was provincially? Do things work differently? Is it a different atmosphere?
The magnitude is different, right? The scope is different, but it's a lot of it's the same. Again, it's bigger. It's just so much bigger. I went back and visited the Nova Scotia legislature, I don't know, a month ago or whatever, and I sat in the gallery and looked down, and I couldn't believe how small it was. It really is. The Nova Scotia legislature, it's the first one, and it's pretty small, pretty intimate. And this isn't intimate. This is very big. On one hand, on the other, it like politics, it's very much a personal sport.
Was it what you expected, or is it what you expected here in Ottawa?
I think so. I mean, I didn't have, the trappings, the buildings, the history. I really am blown away by the tradition and by the history. The whole parliamentary democracy thing.
Sure.
I'm very respectful and humbled by that. So I understood that part of it. The one thing I noticed when I went in the first time I stood up in question period was that I had to have my mic in my ear, otherwise I couldn't hear the speaker.
Oh, that's so interesting.
I'm right in the middle of the chamber.
Yeah. So you're getting it from
both
sides.
But I still couldn't hear. No, just because of the distance.
Yeah.
Whereas in Nova Scotia,
Right.
I started out it's round to begin with, but I started out in the farthest corner.
Sure.
Right, as a backbencher of a 3-person party.
Right.
But there was never any problem hearing the speaker.
Yeah.
And but here there was. So that I just thought, wow, this place is
It's pretty big. When you're not being political, when you aren't at an event or having to be the MP, what do you get to do on your own time? Do you get to relax? Do you get to read books? It's amazing to me how many MPs kind of look at me like, I don't have any free time.
Oh, no. I don't have a lot.
No.
We don't have a lot. But that's my choice. But when I'm home, I pretty jealously guard Sundays.
Yes.
A normal Sunday, what we would like to see a normal Sunday. We have a lovely property, Paul and I, on Porter's Lake. It's quite private, and we love it. We moved there back in 2001 after I got out of politics, or I was getting out of politics, and it was our little
Hideaway
escape.
almost, yeah.
And it's a lovely place.
And it's your permanent residence?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we get up, we get up in the morning, and I make coffee and tea, and I read the papers, and then Paula comes down, and we have tea and coffee together for a couple hours, and shoot the breeze.
Sounds pretty idyllic.
And then we do whatever, and then I'll probably have a nap in the afternoon, and then we do something else, and maybe go out for a walk or.
So it's a recharging day.
Yeah, very much.
And what's your daughter doing?
She's in Calgary. She's 24 now, doing a master's in veterinary medicine.
See?
Veterinary science.
Paid off.
That
horse.
Well, look, I'm telling you, she is so focused on being a vet. It's
That's
unbelievable.
Wonderful.
She's applied. She did her Bachelor of Science at St. Mary's.
Yeah.
She
In the
has
family
tried to get into. Well, actually, speaking of family, I actually graduated from Dalhousie.
Oh, yes,
and so
of course
did Paula.
you did. Right.
Paula has an undergraduate and a master's
Right.
from Dal. Anyway, but it's a small school. It worked well for her. But she's wanted very much to go to UPEI. It's very competitive, and she didn't get in the first round. So she was looking at, what do I do? She searched this program out at Calgary. It's a research-based program. She's getting paid to do this. She's
fantastic.
Doing research, and she loves it. She loves it in Calgary. I'm thrilled that she got out of the region.
Sure.
To see what else is available here in this country.
Yeah.
And she was home in May, and we went to UPEI together, and she had an interview. So we're just waiting to see how that goes.
Well, I
And
wish
she'll
her the
be
best
back.
of luck.
Yeah.
I wish you the best of
Thank you.
luck. I
Thank you.
appreciate that you take the time to be here today. It's been a pleasure to chat with you.
My pleasure. Nice to chat with you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.